Welcome to Piece of History.
All right, today we're going to dig deep into the past, tracing the roots of one of the world's very first great urban cultures. We're going to discover how a civilization famous for its incredible cities didn't start with a bang, but really with just a single seed. So, yeah, how does a mega civilization actually get started? It's easy to jump ahead and picture these grand cities with their perfectly planned streets and amazing drainage systems. But the real story, well, it starts much, much smaller. It's not some big explosion. It's a tale of slow, steady growth that took thousands of years to unfold. To get to the bottom of this, we have to rewind the clock way back, thousands of years before those famous cities were even a thought. We're going to a time that archaeologists call the pre-Harappan phase, and this, right here, is where the groundwork for everything that came later was so carefully laid. I mean, this was an era of true pioneers. We're looking at a huge, profound shift in human history. Think about it, going from a nomadic life, constantly moving around, to actually settling in one place and farming the land. This was the foundation, and it was built one village at a time.
Okay, so our story really starts to take shape at one key site. You can almost think of it as the first seed of this whole civilization. This place, a place that really embodies this entire transformation, is called Mehrgar.
Yeah, 7,000 BCE. Let that number sink in for a second. We are talking 9,000 years ago. That is more than 4,000 years before the Great Pyramids of Giza were even built. We are in deep, deep history here.
And just look at what was happening 9,000 years ago. You can see all the essential building blocks of a society already falling into place. They had permanent homes made of mud brick, a stable food supply from crops and animals, and they even had early technology and art. This wasn't just about survival anymore. This was the actual birth of a culture.
But here's the thing. Mehrgar wasn't a one-off. It was the first of several really important ancestral villages that all helped nurture the growth of the Indus culture. You can think of it like a network of startups, with each one innovating and adding something new to the mix. This table just lays out the progression perfectly. You can literally see how each place added a new layer of complexity. So Mehrgar kicks things off with settled farming. Then, a couple of thousand years later, Amri develops its own unique style of pottery. That's a sign of a growing identity. Fast forward to Kodiji, and whoa, they're building fortified walls. That's a huge clue that they had valuable things to protect, like extra grain. This wasn't random. It was a climb towards something bigger.
So, you're probably wondering, how did all these scattered villages connect and create this pathway to the great cities? Well, as we're about to see, this wasn't random at all. It was a pretty clear evolutionary journey. You can just see it unfolding right here on the timeline. It was this slow, steady burn happening over millennia. This wasn't an overnight thing. Each of these steps, from settling down to farm to building walls for protection, was an absolutely necessary piece of the puzzle for the massive, organized cities that would eventually show up around 2600 BCE.
So here's the crucial point, this incredible transformation. On one side, you have the simple agricultural life in these small, scattered villages, and on the other, you have the complex, mind-blowingly planned societies of the mature Harappan phase. The journey between these 2 points, that's the story of how a civilization is born.
So why is it so important to understand all these ancient roots? What's the big takeaway here, right? Why are we focusing on these tiny villages when we could just be talking about the huge, famous cities? This quote absolutely nails it. Great achievements, great civilizations, they always stand on the foundations that were laid by the people who came before. The incredible city planning of a place like Mohenjo-Daro didn't just appear out of thin air. It was the result of centuries of trial and error in these smaller communities.
Think about it. Without the farmers at Mehrgar figuring out how to domesticate wheat and cattle, or the builders at Kodiji learning how to construct defensive walls, there would be no Harappa, no Mohenjo-Daro. It's that simple. These villages were basically the laboratories where the very ideas of civilization were first put to the test.
It really leaves you wondering, what are the seemingly small innovations happening in our own time? The little experiments, the new ideas brewing in small communities right now, what might become the bedrock for the future? Just like farming in 7,000 BC led to these incredible cities, what we're creating today could be the blueprint for a world we can't even begin to imagine.